Okay, can everyone hear me? Several weeks ago, I went on the website of MARIELENA STUART, and I was very impressed with what I read. She had very intelligently written and informative essays on very many significant issues. So I invited her to speak here and gave her Barbara Davis's number. So I'm very proud to introduce MARIELENA STUART, and she's coming all the way from Naples to speak to us. She is a candidate for the United States Senate, and being a woman, it doesn't hurt.
As you can see, I'm losing my voice, but I'm not one to shy away when there's a challenge before me. So I wouldn't miss this opportunity for anything. So please bear with me as I try to address you tonight, and we'll even try to do a Q&A with you. I may have to put a lozenge in my mouth, but I just ask that you indulge me and be patient with me tonight. It is truly an honor and a privilege to be here among my fellow Republicans. My name is MARIELENA STUART. I'm running for the United States Senate. I am often asked, why are you running for the United States Senate? It is such a challenging task, such a daunting task. So I begin always by speaking about my background. I was born and raised in Cuba, tragically, under Fidel Castro's communist regime. I am the daughter of a former political prisoner. I am the niece of one of the longest held political prisoners in the Western Hemisphere. Members of my family were tortured and executed. I know full well what communism is. And I'm here to tell you that socialism is in our country. It is destroying our country. And I know exactly how to identify it and how to attack it. It is absolutely critical at this time that you choose a United States Senator with the authoritative experience and background to be able to attack socialism head-on with courage, with conviction on the floor of the United States Senate. We may change who sits on the Oval Office, but if we do not change the makeup of the United States Senate, we will have great luck, and we will not be able to advance the conservative causes that will save this nation. I am absolutely convinced that there is an absolute impossible coexistence between liberal thought, liberal actions, and our conservative founding values. We must come to grip with the reality that our founding fathers did not mean for this nation to be a liberal nation. If we are to change what is happening in our country, we have to begin by changing the moral environment in Washington, D.C. And the way we begin by changing the moral environment in Washington, D.C. is by defending human life. We must absolutely fight to overthrow Roe versus Wade. I am the only candidate for the United States Senate with a public record of actively fighting in defense of human life. From 2010 to 2011 alone, I spent more than a year fighting to keep an anti-human genetic lab from entering Southwest Florida at the tune of hundreds of millions of taxpayer dollars, your taxpayer dollars. Why? Because it was a bailout of a sustainable development community, which is Agenda 21. And also, this lab is actively involved in the world of human embryonic stem cell research. Ladies and gentlemen, there is no other candidate running for the United States Senate in Florida with a public record of actively fighting in defense of human life and against sustainable development, Agenda 21. Agenda 21 is destroying our country. Agenda 21 is the initiative by the United Nations to basically establish socialism all over the world, and it is here in America. It is found at the local level, at the county level, at the state level. I have brought with me an article I recently published titled Lubyanka 20 at the Crossroad of Agenda 21. And in this article I begin to describe the process of Agenda 21 in Moscow, at the building Lubyanka 20, where thousands of people were kept and tortured and eventually sent to the Gulag after being pulled off the street for simply being suspected of being disruptive to the Soviet government. You need to know that sustainable development is right here in Florida, and it is affecting many citizens of this beautiful state. And it is affecting your property rights, how you conduct business. It is affecting your children because it is being taught at schools and colleges. You need to know what it looks like. You need to know what Agenda 21 smells like, and you need to attack it head on. There is no other candidate for the United States Senate at this time that has a record of fighting sustainable development as I have in Florida since 2008. I encourage you to go to my campaign website and read about my activities in Collier County, where sustainable development is very active and unfortunately embraced by developers and by the county government. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to have to look at America with a worldview, and I have a worldview of America. I've dedicated my life to fighting socialism because socialism is phase one of communism. I am trained as a linguist. My emphasis has always been in Romance languages, although I have a lifelong interest and passion for the Middle East and the Holy Land. There's no other candidate running for the U.S. Senate that can address the issues affecting the Middle East. There's no other candidate running for the United States Senate in Florida that can denounce and understand what is happening in the farcical, absolutely farcical parliaments of Tehran and Damascus. There's no other candidate running for the United States Senate that can understand what is happening to Israel and how Islamic extremists are absolutely attempting to push Israel into the sea. But you have to understand also the history of the region. What drives the people of the Middle East and of these Islamic countries to embrace, with some of the population embracing some of these extremist ideas. I am also a conservative columnist Much of my writing can be found at renewamerica.com, which is a constitutional news website. I have a deep interest in military affairs. I'm the author of a series titled The Beijing Affair, where I talk about what is happening between Washington, D.C. and Beijing, and how American companies are giving away our innovation to the communists in Beijing. And the communists in Beijing are taking our innovation and turning it into military power. A military power that is moving both horizontally and vertically into space. Because as we say here, the communist Chinese have developed electromagnetic weapons to be pointed at our aircraft should we become involved in a conflict with Taiwan. There is no other candidate for the United States Senate with a record of writing and fighting and speaking out against these issues with a deep understanding of America in terms of foreign affairs and America from a worldview. I am a fiscal and social conservative. Socially speaking, I believe that marriage is between a man and a woman. Any attempt to legalize sexual behavior is nothing, absolutely nothing, but an attack on the sanctity of the family. I am not afraid to say this, because if we do not save the family, we cannot save society. If we are to be fiscally responsible, we must begin by being morally responsible. And I firmly believe that you cannot trust a politician with your money if you cannot trust them with morals. Our government has grown out of control. A balanced budget amendment is absolutely critical. It is the only way we're going to keep the federal government from growing. We have reached a point where our debt is now the size of our economy, when it should never be more than 18% of the GDP. This is tragic, and the world is watching. And the world is watching because when America falls, no one, absolutely no one, will come to our rescue. When the euro falls, no one will come to America's rescue. We are truly looking at a socialist abyss. And it's going to take each and every one of you sitting here today to take action and to embrace the conservative values and foundations of our Republican Party. Because I do believe that the Republican Party, if it stays within the path of conservatism, has everything that this nation needs to be saved. It is absolutely critical that we dismantle agencies which are enemies of the private sector. The EPA needs to be dismantled and disinfected. We should be the richest energy nation in the world. We must have the right to access our energy resources, unleash our energy resources, and provide thousands of jobs that are desperately needed for our citizens. And for the brave men and women returning from war, who also will desperately need jobs. We have to stop the socialist environment in Washington. to tell you from experience that communist revolution in Cuba was not an economic revolution. It was an ideological revolution. And this is what is happening in America. When you see a government that tells you that now Homeland Security will be observing what reporters write and publish, as was announced this week, you should be concerned. And no one cares more for national security than I do. I love this country. I know exactly the price of freedom. I never knew freedom until I came to the United States of America. But I have to tell you that when you have a government that is telling you that they have to watch what reporters are publishing and saying, you should be very concerned about your First Amendment and the attack on our Constitution and our freedom of speech. As we speak, there are people who are giving up their lives to come to America so that they can have freedom of speech. We already know that the government of President Obama is meeting with Islamic extremists and Islamic leaders to make sure that we would not commit any blasphemy against Islamic law or Sharia law. This is absolutely alarming and terrifying. That is our First Amendment right. But Sharia law is here. And I am absolutely determined to stand on the floor of the United States Senate and make sure that Sharia law has no place in our schools, no place in our nation, no place in our commerce. You need to remain vigilant. There are schools that are teaching Islamic culture in the state of Florida. That's not something we should tolerate. There is a reason why I homeschool my children, and very successfully, may I add. Because I do not trust the Department of Education, and neither should you. I want my children to grow up to be proud Americans. I don't want my children to apologize for being Americans. Americans are the salt of the earth. I've lived overseas. I've seen what the socialists do in Europe. I spent a long time in Greece. And I saw the socialist pan-Hellenic movement destroy the country of Greece. I would travel throughout Greece doing linguistic research, and I would talk to people from rich to poor, and they would tell me the socialists are destroying our country. And this is since the 1980s and into the 90s. So I was not surprised when Greece fell economically. And we should look at that Hellenic mirror because we see a reflection there. We cannot let America fall. For me to understand what the needs of America means, that I need to listen to every single person that I meet as I travel across Florida. And that is in part why today I sound more like a contralto instead of a soprano. But I have to tell you that my campaign is one of winning the heart hearts and mind of every Floridian. My campaign is not one of standing here and putting on a dramatic act of patriotism. You have seen that enough. My campaign is to become a United States Senator that will be called beloved, that will be called unforgettable, because I promise that I will always stand on the side of the angels. And that is the only way that I can come back to Florida after serving no more than 2 terms. After serving no more than 2 terms, and after making sure that you will end up saying, I am so proud that I sent her there. I am so proud that even though, and maybe, or probably, they'll give me an office in the basement somewhere. I sat down and I worked for you, and I kept my promise. We've already seen what happened with some of the officials that we elected in 2010. This is also a big reason why I'm running. Because this is not a career for me. This is a sacrifice. And also a sacrifice for my family. But it is the least that I can do to give back for what this country gave me. Life and freedom. Because I would not be alive today. I could go on and on. I love to speak. And there are so many issues that I want to discuss with you on the economy, on immigration, on life, on family, on judges, on judicial activism, which has to end because it is another way that it is destroying our country and it is a violation of our Constitution. But I want to save my voice for what I consider to be my favorite part, which is to listen to you and to answer your questions. Because I want you to challenge me. If I am going to keep my word, which is sacred, because I am a woman who respects God, and I am a woman whose only fear is to not be pleasing in the eyes of God. I am not afraid of people. I am not afraid of situations. I am only afraid of God. So if I am going to keep my promise that I'm going to stand on the side of the angels, and that I am going to be that senator that came back and you were so proud of, and that you call my beloved senator, then I need to listen to you. So I'd like to take this opportunity to answer any questions that you have. Thank you. Yes.
What do you see as your number one priority as a United States Senator for the state of Florida?
I am extremely concerned about the programs that have been implemented in the state, which are socialist in nature, sustainable development, and I'm also extremely concerned that a lot of this is connected with the lack of jobs and how it is affecting the private sector, which is the true source of jobs, because the government is not the creator of jobs. So that to me is absolutely a very, very deep concern. The economy of the state, the well-being of the state.
May I ask a question?
My name is Brevard. I don't know much about politics, but I'm just wondering something. How many Republicans are running, and why are you better than Connie Mack?
Thank you, I love that question. Connie Mack clearly identifies why I have such a great chance of winning. You know, with Connie Mack being out there, name recognition, and I'm sorry, I'm a lady, but I just can't miss this chance. I hear that his bio, the most outstanding thing in his bio before he entered politics, is that he was an event planner for Hooters. Ladies and gentlemen, that may be comical to you, but that's actually a fact. And it's in the news, you can read about it. Just Google Connie Mack and Hooters.
How many Republicans?
Now, there are several Republicans running.
Two?
No, there are several. There are some that have announced, and I see them sometimes in the campaign trail. Sometimes I don't see them, but I can't be concerned with how many are running. I have to be concerned with my campaign, my candidacy, and my hard work to get elected. And what makes me different from Connie Mack is that Connie Mack has a history of fiscal irresponsibility, earmarks, supporting human embryonic stem cell research. Really, a history of not being a conservative. Because conservatism is not just saying, I am a true conservative. We have a lot of people running who claim they are true conservatives. But think about this. If we have so many conservatives, how come we have somebody by the name of Barack Hussein Obama, a socialist, in the White House? So I do always make it a point to identify myself as an authentic conservative. Authentic, because I've lived my life and I've made sacrifices along with my family to stand on and defend my conservative values in every way, morally and physically.
As a United States Senator, how would you oppose Barack Obama's violation of our Constitution and usurpation of power in America?
One of the first ways that we can address that is by repealing Obamacare. Obamacare encompasses all the evil aspects of socialism. And you know, I say the word socialism, and I'm always very reluctant even to use it. But I think that you're not ready for somebody to stand before you and tell you that it encompasses all the evil aspects of communism, because that's really what it is. Remember, the Soviets did not call themselves the Soviet Communist Republic. They call it the Soviet Socialist Republic. Cuba does not call itself communist, calls itself socialist. So don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to use the word communist, because that's what it is. That is what it is. And Obamacare represents that. It involves huge taxpayer increases. And tax increases, a country that is burdened with tax increases cannot flourish. The death tax has to be done away with. Our generation of farmers who cannot pass their farms to their children, to their family members, because of the death tax. Obamacare encompasses everything that is evil and that is communist. Abortion. Abortion. Why should that be part of any health program? That is murder. And even more, to use taxpayer money to pay for abortion is a violation of our constitutional and our judicial principles. So Obamacare is truly the example of what the socialists in Washington have been planning for us, and it must be killed.
Do you have a position on illegal immigration?
Absolutely. In spite of the suffering I described to you, in spite of being in a family of political prisoners and family members executed and tortured, in spite of the hunger, my family and I waited a long time to come to America legally. America has the right to control its borders. And we must do so immediately, not just because it is our sovereign right to do it, but because it is an issue of national security. We know that Hezbollah is introducing individuals that they're training through our borders. That has to stop. In Switzerland, where I have also spent time, I have to tell you that if you do not leave Switzerland on the day that your visa says you must, they come knocking on your door and they escort you to the airport. Why can't we do the same? And when it comes to workers, we must issue workers' visas. Once an employer says, I have exhausted every avenue to recruit American workers and I cannot, then he can request visas to bring in foreign workers for a specific period of time. And then when they're done, they can return. This is part of a civil society. And it's absolutely critical that immigration, this is a deep concern for me, immigration must not come up only during election time. Immigration is an issue that needs to be resolved once and for all. This really concerns me. I don't believe in amnesty. That is a reward for illegal behavior. And it is not fair for those that wait, like I did, for years to come to this country. We're running out of time, so
Marielena, we've become the greatest economy on the face of the earth, mostly in large part due to the manufacturing before, during, and after the Great Wars. What can we do? Now it's happening to us instead of what we did to others. The emerging countries are taking all that manufacturing away. What can we do to get back that manufacturing?
you have to look at the free trade agreements. You have to look at what is happening with all of our talent in our workforce being left behind and given to other countries. You need to look at how companies in our government are pushing and training leaders in the business community all over the world in sustainable development. And sustainable development is affecting us in the manner in which you're referring. Because what it's doing is, it is telling us, well, we will manufacture this here, let's say in Honduras or in South America. But we will do it according to sustainable development programs. And what that is creating is putting a clamp on our manufacturing and even how we could possibly get a trickle of benefit back into our economy. It is not a win-win situation. It is a lose-lose situation. And the reason that we have lost our manufacturing base here is due to the socialist programs, which have been embedded in these trade agreements. There's a lot that has to be done on the floor of the U.S. Senate. It begins with Obamacare, but it doesn't end there, because these socialist programs, through these trade agreements, these socialist programs, like cap and trade, they've been working our way through our system for a long time. It's going to take somebody with guts. It's going to take an authentic conservative who is not going to be afraid to say no. I've been told the last question. There's a lady here. You have a question?
This is going to put you on the spot, but do you see one of our nominees out there right now running for president who can stand up and address any of these issues without walking into town and dancing around?
Your question is, do I see any presidential nominee that I like?
That you think has the ability to stand up to this? You don't have to answer. I'm just hoping that you do see something. You don't have to give an answer as to his name.
You know, I usually don't like to be quoting. I think you've been over-quoted. You're quoted out. But this is one time that I'm going to quote someone, and it's Ronald Reagan. We have one enemy right now, and that's Barack Obama. I am not going to attack any of the Republicans that are running for two reasons. Any one of them is better than Barack Obama. Absolutely crucial that I be genuine and that I not try to influence your heart and your mind in your choosing of the next president of the United States of America. But I can tell you, as a very conservative woman, that I am listening closely. And I'm not a psychologist, but I'm a good reader of movements. And I watch their eyes, I watch their hands, I watch them like a hawk. Because in that next president lies what will happen to this nation. Because we cannot have simply someone that moves into the Oval Office and pushes things just down the road. And that is why I'm running for the United States Senate. Because that next Republican in the Oval Office will hear me loud and clear. That we have to advance conservative programs and change the socialism, remove, kill the socialism that is in Washington. And I want to add this. I want to add on a light note, because I believe in lifting spirits. America is a great nation. It's an optimist nation, but you can't just be an optimist. You need to be strong and realistic, and you need to have a plan. And I call it my F-16 plan. When I arrive on the floor of the Senate, there are going to be bills and programs and legislation. issues that we need to advance to bring down Obamacare and the rest of the socialist programs that have been infiltrated, because they're infiltrated into our democracy, into our republic. And if my fellow Republicans on the floor of the United States Senate do not cooperate and do not deliver, I will give them a deadline. And if they do not come together on the promises that they made to you, I will pull out my F-16. And that is my ability to write, which I continue to do as a columnist. And like I say, I don't care if they give me an office in the basement. All I need is a desk and a chair. I will pull out my laptop and I will write an article. The honorable senator from such and such a state has met with me so many times, and he or she is avoiding delivering on the promise. Because we have been betrayed enough. Oh, Barack Obama is not in the White House because of Democrats. Barack Obama is in the White House because of the moderates in the Republican Party. And I'm not when I say that I will stand on the side of the angels, I mean it. And it's going to be, at times, a bumpy ride, and it's going to be at times a very lonely ride. But I've seen it all, and I'm not afraid, because I survived communism. I've dealt with the worst thugs on the planet. And once you survive communism, you're not afraid of anything.